Hi everybody, my name is Katy and my boyfriend is Ron. He's a police officer. Girls, watching him in his uniform is a pleasure. More than anything, I wanted my boyfriend to be either a military man or a cop. Why? Have you ever seen a guy like that drive a motorcycle or a car, hunting criminals or fighting? Ron was like that from childhood. He was raised with an inflated sense of duty and responsibility. No greater patriot to a small, remote town. Honey, will you make me a pot of coffee? There is a coffee machine for that. No, you know I'm a coffee drinker and I don't want it in a machine. I want it brewed by your hands. Why is that? Each cup carries its flavor. If you make my favorite drink for me with your hands, I'll remember its taste for a long time. And coffee in bed, that's cool in any girl's eyes. I'll make it sometime, baby, but not now. We had the perfect relationship. We dated almost since we were kids, went to theater and school and home together. That's how we grew up. Ron was the best young member of the department, and because of his looks, popular with girls, women, and grandmothers. Everyone was jealous that I was his girlfriend. I knew it, and I was proud. He went out of town for a while, for 7 years, and then came back again. That's when we started all over again. Freeze! Don't move! Hands up! He shouted sharply as I served guests in my cafe. I froze with a tray in my hands and looked in horror in the direction Ron was looking. In the very corner sat one of my customers, just where I was carrying the pumpkin soup and bread. The guy in the cap was covering his face with his visor, but I could see him smiling. Ron was looking at me and, with his eyes, showed me to jump under the table, and the other customers too. I started counting down. 3, 2, 1. I threw my soup tray in his direction and jumped under the table, and so did the other customers, and the guy in the cap pulled out his gun, and a gunfight began. I screamed. I was so scared. My heart was ready to explode. I cradled our oldest guest, Uncle Daniel, next to me. In his 74 years, he still came to my cafe to have a good meal and to see me. He hugged me and I hugged him, then the gunfight was over. Ron ran towards the guy and they got into a fight. Ron punched him in the face pretty well, but he managed to break the window and run away. Everybody okay? Babe, are you okay? I got up from under the table, and my clients and I were in shock. I'm okay, I'm fine. Are you okay? Are you hurt? No, I'm fine. Damn, he managed to get away. Who is he? One of the gang. We call them the Helmets. Why? What are they doing? These guys came over from Italy 6 months ago, and now they're up to no good here. I gotta find their nest before they turn this place into the mafia. Katy. I looked under the table and noticed Uncle Daniel was hurt. Oh no. Call an ambulance! I yelled, but it was too late. He'd been shot and died right in my arms. That old man was the only one who cared for me better than my family. He gave me his cafe because he had no one else in his life but me. He's like a second father to me, and I lost him. At the funeral, all I asked Ron to do was to find those bastards and avenge Uncle Daniel. I knew it was hard for Ron to do that. He was out late at work, coming in exhausted. Meanwhile, my cafe was temporarily closed because Ron said he might not be around another time, and then something irreparable might happen. I understood his fear, so I agreed to stay home for the time being. But that wasn't the end of the Helmets' dirty business. These jerks were riding around town at night wearing biker helmets. Local townspeople said they were acting too loud for foreign gangsters. It seemed strange to me too. I hadn't seen The Godfather about the Corleone mafia family in Sicily, but I don't think mafioso behaved that way. These were more like hoodlums. When Ron returned from his shift one day, I asked him how the case was going. He took a deep breath and said, I just wanted to ask you something. Yeah, what's up? I need to borrow your cafe. For your police stuff? Yes, we intend to do a special arrest operation there. There might be some damage, but you'll be reimbursed. Get everything of value out of there for tomorrow. All right, yeah, it's for the good of the city. Only my stove is shorting out. You said you'd fix it and you forgot. I'm sorry, I'll fix it afterward. I'll leave it in place, try not to break it all the way, and what about the guy in the cab? You know, sometimes I think I've seen him somewhere. You must be mistaken. Have you seen The Godfather? No, it's just that... All right, you got it, Sheriff. I'll come by tomorrow with the guys and help you clean it up. Ron came over with his colleagues, and they took out the furniture and the equipment. I hid everything in Uncle Daniel's garage. I went over to Ron and got a drink, and asked how long the department had had so many employees. Ron smiled and said there was an open contest, and these guys passed. What exactly are you going to do here? It's a special operation. I can't tell you about it, you know? Yeah. Okay, I'll just stay home and watch soap operas. Ron went to bed after showering, and I decided to stay up and tidy the closet a bit. But I found this weird thing. A cap with the same logo as that guy's. A white triangle. What the fuck? I asked myself, and Ron came up behind me and snatched it out of my hands. What are you doing, baby? Oh, you scared me. I'm sorry, I just didn't see that hat on you before. I wanted to do the laundry. Thank you, but that's okay. Go back to bed. I'll clean it up myself. Okay. The next day, as Ron promised, they did their special operation and apprehended the bad guys. My guy became a town hero. The mayor gave him a medal. All the locals applauded, and after a short time, the mayor personally called Ron and I propose that we buy this cafe back from the city and make it a municipal cafe. You know, there won't be as many customers now because of the shooting. Your business will go down, and we'll rebrand it and make another cafe there. He also said I would be paid twice as much if I agreed to sell the place to the city. The offer was tempting, but I couldn't betray Uncle Daniel. With all due respect, sir, this cafe was passed down to me by an uncle who was like a father to me, and I want to preserve his legacy. I wanted to get out, but Ron started to talk me down. He said it was the best option, plus I could open another establishment, just in a different location. I said I'd think about it and walked out the door. In the hallway, I ran into some guy. He dropped his ID, and I apologized and started to pick it up. I'm sorry, sir, I didn't see you. He just nodded his head, and I realized that those lips, they looked familiar. While he was picking up his papers, I covered half his face with my hand and realized that he was the one shooting at my cafe back then. What the hell? Ron said he'd arrested him. Duck! There was a blow to the back of my head. I woke up, barely opened my eyes, and realized that I was sitting in my cafe, only my hands were tied. There was a guy in a police uniform sitting across from me. What the fuck is going on? Hi, Katy. Your nose is too long. You stuck it where it didn't belong. Where's Ron? He'll destroy you. I don't think so. Ron came in and locked the doors and sat down across from me. I offered you a good deal, but you turned me down. What's going on here, Ron? It's your Uncle Daniel. If that old man had sold me and the mayor of the cafe right away, none of this would have happened, and he would still be alive. What do you mean? Your cafe, which he handed over to you, holds something more valuable than the food you cook here. Our mayor and I knew that. We tried to buy the place out through intermediaries, but your uncle refused. Apparently, he didn't know that there was something underneath the foundations. He valued the cafe itself. And then I found out that he has no family, but a sweetheart like you. So you started dating me just because of that? Did you think that because I was friends with you when I was a kid that it was our destiny? Was it love? You asshole! Shh, baby, you don't want to piss me off. You'd better sign the deed to the cafe. I knew that if I didn't, they'd just make me. It cost them nothing to make a mess of the whole town, to make the cafe a dangerous place to visit, playing all this theater. Was it all worth it for only one signature? Still, I couldn't believe that my childhood friend had deceived me. I mean, he's a policeman, meant to protect, not act like a mobster. And also, I knew that if I signed, they would not let me out of there because I'd learned too much. So, what could I do? Ron, I guess I'll never get out of here alive. You've always been clever. Sorry about that. I have one last wish. What is it? Make me a cup of coffee. 1 cup. Oh yeah, I promised you. Are you sure you want to remember this drink with me? It'll be my last memory, so at least let it be associated with my favorite drink. Okay, don't cry. I'll make it. His colleague in the cab got uncomfortable and went outside for a smoke. I sat there crying, and Ron, he went over to the stove, turned it on, picked up the brew, and boom, there was an explosion. I wasn't hurt, but the kitchen and Ron were. I told you to fix my stove, I said toward the explosion. I bought time and managed to escape from there and report everything to the FBI. The whole group was apprehended, and the deposits of gold that were hidden under the foundation I took for myself as the landlady.